Evan, good morning. It's a happy Friday today. It's a for sure happy Friday. I don't see what could make it a bad Friday. How to use the ATR indicator? So basically, I use it for measurements. I want to know one, how quickly a stock moves. Right, that's the first thing I want to know. And so it obviously just at a quick glance tells me how fast the stock moves roughly per day. And then from there, if something gets a little too extended from the 50 simple moving average, I don't want to be a buyer of that, right? It just gets too extended from the 50 and right, I don't want to buy something that gets extended from the 50. You're effectively raising your risk of failure on buying something that's extended. So hopefully, that makes sense. And obviously it's calculated a few ways. When something's undergoing expansion, I like to look at the last 5 days. When something's undergoing contraction, I like to look at the last 20 days. So that's kind of how I think about it. And then obviously something that gets extended from the 50 simple moving average, like more than 4 or 5 times its average true range from the 50 simple, I don't buy it. Um, you know, ASTS looks fine. It just needs to start building back up a little bit and then, take out a prior day high effectively. I use both. I use ADR and I use ATR. ADR if the stock is very smooth and doesn't gap, but once you kind of start going into the later stages of a move, a stock starts to gap up a few times overnight. So you also want to know ATR, which also measures overnight gaps. Thoughts on Jeff Bezos selling his shares? Well, he's probably got a lot of shares to sell. You don't ever worry about somebody selling when they've got millions of shares. I mean, that's like peanuts. You know what I'm saying? He's got to sell some. I mean, people sell shares all the time for all sorts of reasons. I vote glow on watch every day. I don't see it doing anything. I just see it digesting here and going sideways. So we'll see what happens if and when it catches up to the 50 simple moving average. Yeah, exactly, Corey. Rocketry is an expensive hobby. Yeah, I bought IBIT 2 days ago and I added yesterday. So I'm sitting really nice, but I'm kind of looking at it this morning and thinking to myself if I should trim a small piece. I'm long ARC, I'm long CCL, I'm long IBIT, I'm short Rigetti, and Rigetti with a little bit of a gap down overnight. So we'll see. No, I do not. I avoid stocks when they're less than like, 4 or 5 days away from their earnings because I just know that I won't have enough cushion to hold it overnight, or really I won't have enough cushion to hold it into that earnings, overnight. Unless something can really push away from my average, I'd rather not gamble. Yeah, Dave taking a beating, Sezzle as well. These things made massive moves. So Sezzle made a really big move and, a couple nasty down days in a row. I mean, nothing's broken with it, right? It's just got to build a whole new base. And then Dave, similar deal. Yeah, Netflix too. I once owned Netflix from $1,000 basically. It's just doing what it should, letting the 50 catch up after a massive move, right? Things just can't keep going up and up and up and up and up and up. Right? They got to digest. Yeah, I'm still looking at BABA, but more importantly, it's got to get over its 200 simple moving average, right? Like even, whoops, excuse me, shrunk my chart. Um, even a BABA this morning, or really should I say last night, comes up, hits the 200, starts to reject a little bit. So it's got to get back above the 200 simple moving average. It just has to. Otherwise, I can't be a buyer of something living below the 200. Big moves don't occur below the 200. They occur above. Nice. Gold looks like it's ready for another leg too. With the way it's acting, very simple. IBIT had two flat base breakouts, I felt. So the first one when I bought IBIT, very easy. So one, I had two spots, and I guess I'll just redraw these here for you so you can kind of see. All right, so this was the setup that I was looking at on IBIT, right? The day it started to take off, right? And you can just now see it pull in, find support against the rising 50. So the first real setup, in my opinion, was this undercut and rally, right? You get an undercut of prior left side low, and then you find support on the rising 50, and here's your rally. That would have been the first best entry, about 57.5 bucks. And let me, so this was the first setup that you should have taken on IBIT. I didn't take it that way. Then you start to work your way back up the right-hand side of the chart. And every time you came down, right, you started to find some support on a rising moving average. So pulls back in, the next day you're up. So you're finding support at the rising moving average because you're right back up. You'll pull back in, and then all of a sudden you start to float back up. And on the day that I buy it, two things are happening here. One, it's breaking out over prior day high, which is right here, right? But opening print on this thing was just like a smidge higher, right? It was just a touch higher. So the first time I got myself positioned in this thing, opening print was literally right here. It goes like right there. Okay, so opening was the open. Yep, 62.29. So I'm buying it later in the day as we're one, above prior day high, and two, starting to go green on its candlestick. So I'm now starting to buy it right. I'll tell you the exact time I bought it too. At 123. So right here, effectively, right? As it's starting to go green on its candlestick on the day as well. So we're over prior day high. And at this point, I knew kind of in the back of my mind, we've got a lot of Bitcoin names acting well. Iron, Hut, Cypher, Clean Spark, Riot, Cores recently, BT, BTCS, a coin, MSTR, a bunch of crypto related names are on effing fire. You got a really nice clean technical setup. And I knew I was just going to widen my stop to 61 bucks to like every time this thing pulls back, it's finding a new low. So I knew I was like 61 bucks is kind of going to be my line in the sand. So I take my first position here. And then immediately you start to get this huge volume. Why? Because Bitcoin's now breaking out. And that's exactly what you want to see. And this thing gave me really nice cushion to hold overnight, right? All of a sudden, you're way up here. You're closing beautifully. And then the very next day, you get this. And by the way, I thought there was a really nice setup right across these tops here. See this nice little horizontal line right across the top. All you have left is this little peak right here. I felt like if you could take, 63 bucks out, which is why I even said a tweet about it, if Bitcoin could take out 63 bucks, I would be a buyer. Well, right through 63, you still get a move, but I was in a little bit earlier, which is fine, right? Over prior day high. And then you get this flat base where you get this left side peak here. And it's effectively the exact same thing where I'm then buying it over this day's high, 7/9's high. And it was the exact same thing. So you get the morning kind of a little gap down, right, and hold, and you're just kind of holding in there, right? And my stop is, I'm in there effectively much lower. And so what starts to happen is you get this move up, right? Beautiful move right to this left side peak. And then you just digest. And then all of a sudden in the afternoon, right, you go from red to green, right? You break through prior day's closing print. And my next buys were 63.86 at 12:23. So at noon, right effectively in here. No, 63.86. So a little bit before actually. Oh, moron. 12. Oh, this is on East Coast time. Got it. So 11:23. So right in here, effectively, as you're breaking through, you're going red to green and you're breaking through that little pivot. And that's it. And that's literally it. You're just breaking out of something. And what do you notice about when this is happening too? Look at the volume. Look at the volume. Then you break through that pivot. And all of a sudden, that volume picks up, right? I'm not the only one buying there. A lot of people are buying there. So multiple people are seeing this breakout. You're getting a move in coin. You're getting a move in MSTR. You're getting a move in the crypto miners. You're getting a move in Bitcoin itself. And then you're off to the races, right? And then you get the gap up overnight in Bitcoin as well. And then, here you go. You're closing at 64.5, and now you're at 67 and change. So hopefully that made sense. Very simple setup, actually. And as it's happening in real time and you're kind of seeing all these other things in that space work, they make it really easy. Yeah, I haven't taken a lot of longs in the last few weeks. It's been difficult to get resituated in longs, has been the issue. That's been the issue. It's not that the market's not in an uptrend. It's can you get resituated in your longs? Like, can you buy something and then not get shaken out? If you're going to just keep getting shaken out, then, it doesn't matter what kind of trend you're in. You have to manage risk in real time no matter what. So not only do I need a good, clean setup, right? I need to not get shaken out after I buy it. And that's what's going on here. I'm just getting shaken out too damn often. TDW, Tidewater. Nah, It like just got above its 200 simple moving average. Let it establish itself above. Yeah, if gold keeps moving, yeah, KGC, but it's got a really clean pivot, right? And you see this little pivot at 16 bucks. Above 16 is pretty good. Below 16, leave it alone. UMAC and RCAT doing better than Archer. Joby. Well, Joby's already made a huge move, and this thing's at 52-week highs. So this is absolutely doing better than UMAC and RCAT. So I don't agree with you in that regard, right? If this were doing better than Joby, this UMAC would be at like 18 or 20, and it's not. It's at 8. And again, they don't do like Joby doesn't do like flying. They don't do like small little defensive drones. They do like transportation planes, like all electric. They're totally different. I don't know that AMD was quote unquote breakout day, right? I mean, one, we're still within this high, so you really technically haven't broken out. That's one. And number two, I thought it being a breakout was like it breaking back above the 200 simple moving average on a pickup in volume was a little bit better. But, yesterday was more of like a higher low setup. No, I wouldn't buy Oscar right now. I keep seeing people trying to buy Oscar for some godforsaken reason. Um, look at the volume. Like ignore the chart. Ignore the chart. Look at the volume. What are the biggest bars out there? They're all red. And then you look at the chart and you go, oh, okay, yeah, this thing made a move up and gave it all back on a pickup in volume. There's somebody that doesn't want to be in there. Let the chart go back into an uptrend first, then you show up for it. You start buying it at 14 and you might just end up holding a bag for forever. That might not be true, right? It might actually end up going higher for you, but you shouldn't really be doing that quote unquote guessing. Yeah, I always leave my I always leave the markets open, right? I kind of want to just see it all the time and what's going on. No, I don't basically do a starter. I almost had a 10% position in IBIT the first time, and then I added later. Is it too late to buy Uber? I mean, I bought it at 75 bucks. Yeah, there's no setup here anyway, so it's not that it's too late. There's just no setup. Why do I trade IBIT instead of Bitcoin? I don't know. I could do either, but I just don't trade actual cryptocurrencies. So if they don't trade in the stock market, then for me it makes no difference. Yeah, I actually have been doing that for the last 4 weeks, maybe even longer, last 5 weeks. I've been trading smaller size, right? Keeping position sizes to under 10%. What do I think of Groy? No, it trades too thin. Don't think about something small account edge as something. By the way, this only moves 4.97% per day. So it's not like small account edge to me means it moves like 10 or 12%, and then but it's still got to be liquid. This isn't very liquid. Not to mention this is a bit. It's just still a touch extended from the 50. SMCI in a breakout. I'm not sure if there's a question there. because those are actually laggards. The market rallied recently, but most stocks you're watching have gone sideways, showing weakness. I don't know that that's necessarily true, man. I'm always focused on leaders, never really the weakness. And stocks that are just getting above their 200 simple moving average are definitely weak compared to the market. Now, I really mostly focus on group strength. So, that can sometimes change. We're talking about stocks that are reclaiming the 200 simple moving average. I have been doing that. Yesterday, I was talking about the airliners, right? Those just reclaimed the 200, right? I was recently talking about the energy stocks, and you got Hess that just reclaimed the 200. You've got XOM, you've got CVX, right? I've been talking about these, and these just reclaimed. So, but there's definitely a reason why you want to focus on leaders. They tend to keep leading. Thoughts on Hut? Hut never let me hold it overnight, and then the next day it went, and I didn't rebuy it. Yeah, wow. Yeah, it looks pretty good. A touch extended from the 50, but it looks good. Everything stocks. I don't personally like IONQ. I'm already short Rigetti again. But, if we start cracking through 48 and a half, 49 bucks, it could look better. We're starting to tighten here, which is good, right? Nothing entirely wrong with it. But, you start to look at like a Rigetti, and the market's at an all-time high yesterday, and this thing's just fading off all day. Like, wait, what? You're going down while the market's just been blasting higher all day? It's kind of odd. Yeah, low cheat entries are definitely some of my favorite. Nice little way to sneak in there. Yeah, it could be. It could very well be breakout day for AG, but it needs silver, so keep your eyes on that. Yep. Yeah, Shane, I do something very similar against the 20 simple moving average. Let ASTS turn back up. Don't just buy something that's just casually going down, which it's casually just doing that. Nah, this is just kind of crappy price action here. I mean, it could go, but trades 23 million bucks a day and moves 2.55%. So not only is it slow, it's not that liquid. I don't trade options, man. I just bought shares. Yeah, I don't know that I considered it yesterday because they were all just getting absolutely smoked to get like in unison yesterday. But I definitely do think about shorting when I see group weakness like that. It wasn't just like CrowdStrike or Zscaler were down; the whole group was getting smoked. So when I see that, it's like you're kind of aligning yourself with one of the big players that are out there selling cyber. But you need to just have a low risk spot. And had you shorted them yesterday on like the break of the 21 simple moving average, you would have done pretty well. I don't understand what that means, Lucas. What program do I trade with? I'm not entirely sure. MP, a valid high volume close. Uh, I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, I saw the news with the government. I don't know how long that news stays good for them for. We'll see. Yeah, PAAS. This is a nice silver name. This isn't really a chase. Like we are coming out of a flat base. This isn't a chase at all. Plus, silver has digested really nicely. So as long as silver hangs in there, it looks like PAAS could probably keep going, would be my guess. Awesome, awesome earnings estimates on this one going forward too. So you're not really chasing. No, don't worry about what dollar volume I want. Focus on the dollar volume you need for your account, right? I can't buy stocks that only trade $5 million a day. I mean, otherwise the stock would have to go up like 1,000% to even slightly move the needle in my portfolio. It's just still, well, it's not rare. It's actually not that extended anymore. Isaac, you have that tool in the room. Make sure you use it to your advantage. So go to the chart floor and then type in /quote and then put in TMC. And you're gonna see how extended from the 50 simple moving average it is, right? Don't be buying things that are more than 4 to 5 times their ATR from the 50. My weekend routine, yeah, I go through all my scanners. I kind of put the puzzle in my head together of what stocks are, what stocks are kind of coming together as leading groups. And I just do the same thing I do every single day. I just put together my nightly watch list. I know my levels. I know the setups I like to trade. And that's basically it. I do the same thing I do during the week. I really don't try to change my routine too much. I just more slowly go through setups. Nah, this trades $2 million a day. I mean, it's been known to make really big moves in the past, but trades $2 million a day. From the long side. But I do like playing both sides of the market. No, this is way too extended. Where's the tightness here? Where's the tight? This thing has gone from $1 to $8, and now you want to show up at $8 and buy it? Come on now. You have to do some mental math, brother. What do you mean? How do you calculate the dollar volume ideal for if you have a $5 million account and you're trading stocks that trade $2 million a day, and on a $5 million account you're putting on $500,000 positions? How the hell are you supposed to get $500,000 into a stock that only trades $2 million a day? Riddle me that. How are you supposed to be 25% of the stock's volume in a day? And that would be just on your buy. Then if you had to exit, you'd be another $500,000 on the exit. So you'd be $1 million of the stock's $2 million of volume today. So if you have a $5 million account and somebody asked me about CANG, I could never even consider it in a million years, right? Because if I'm putting on $1 million positions and this thing trades $2 million a day, with my entry and my exit, I would solo be the entire volume for the day, right? That's not what I want. I don't want to be the dollar volume completely all by myself. I mean, I don't want to move the stock when I get in. I don't want to move the stock when I get out. So it's just some math. And if you're trading with a 50K account, yeah, then you could put $5,000 in here, no problem. With sectors, I'll use Deep View, I'll use FinViz. I just want to know what are the top, 40, 50 setups or 50 groups in the market. And then from there, I say, what are the cleanest setups? And then from there, do any of them have good earnings and sales? Are any of them nice and tight? Yeah, XMTR is not terrible, but there's nothing wrong with it. If you got a liquid enough account, could work. Or, if you got a small enough account, it could work, I should say. Doesn't look terrible, but I don't really see a great entry here. Intraday, this thing trades like way too thin. Yeah, I mean, recent IPO. I don't like trading recent IPOs. I like to make sure that their lockup period's done. Yeah, looks strong, but I'm pretty sure it's a biotech, so just be careful with it. Yeah, LEU had a nice day yesterday. How's CCJ looking? CCJ fine. This thing got so extended. It's crazy that I lost a ton of money on this thing back at 25 bucks back in the day. That hurts to look at this thing go vertical like this. Yeah, I don't really see an entry here. You know, you could be looking at a higher low setup, but it has to take out a prior day's high. You could have. I don't know that I would have shorted this here. Don't really like that. What's minimum ADR for a small account? 4% per day. You probably don't want to trade things that trade less than 4% per day. KWeb, yeah. Futu made a big move recently. KWeb's starting to look a whole lot better. I mean, this thing is tight, tight, tight. We'll see. Yeah, people keep asking me about this MP for a high volume close play. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the news is fine, but how long is that news going to be good for? Oklo, on the other hand, we'll see with Oklo too. Again, has to take out a prior day's channel. Just when you think it's starting to poke its head, it gaps down overnight. Right? Could be market related, but at the very least, you got to get back up above this 20 simple moving average. Right? And then you could be onto something. So call it like 57 and a half bucks and then better. Right? For right now, it's just kind of living under this February peak. Yeah, dollar volume above 10 million. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty good. You don't look the way you got to look at it is this. If it trades like less than if it trades $10 million a day, what institutions are involved in that, right? You're just mostly like more than likely trading pieces of shit. And you don't really want to be involved in crappy stocks. You want to be involved in stocks that have potential to make really clean, linear, nice uptrending moves, right? You don't want to be like in an Nvidia. Like I remember when I was watching this thing, 99 and a half is a higher low setup. Here's your low, here's your higher low. This is like a beautiful uptrending move, zero headache, right? Or something like Roblox, right? Zero headache. Or how about Hood? Zero headache, right? So like that is a whole lot better than being in something that quote unquote moves super fast. By the way, this thing moves almost 6% per day. So, and trades $4 billion a day, right? This whole shit where like people bring up these charts that are only trading like 2 million, 4 million, 5 million, 8 million. Like for what? For what? Like this is 100. By the way, the first clean setup on Hood was the UNR of 35, right? You look at this March low, and there you go. The undercut and the rally is a valid setup. And then the second one was this little breakout over this earnings high, 51.30. And then the thing goes on to double. Is that not fast enough for some people? You know what I mean? So AOI, yeah, nice action recently over the 200. Yeah, starting to flag out here. Better. a little undercut, a little breakdown and build another higher low against the 20, I think would be nice. Hard to say. We're starting to see distribution on the QQQ, when you just still continue to grind higher above the 10 and 20. But I'll tell you what is starting to happen. It's starting to lag a little bit versus the IWM. In other words, the IWM's been kind of outperforming. Like yesterday, the NASDAQ was down the most versus the IWM and the S&P 500. Yeah, institutions can't really move names that are 10 and 20 million because they're not trading names that are only trade 10 and 20 million. That's the key. Jumia, the Amazon of Africa. Yeah, I mean, this thing just got above its 200 and it's been in, a pretty ugly downtrend for a while. Can it go? Maybe, but oh, this is a good question. I've answered this one before. If you buy a trade and it doesn't really move afterward, should you close it or keep your original stop and wait? If the market's falling and your stock is going sideways, it's showing relative strength. If the stock market's ripping and your stock is going sideways, then it's showing relative weakness. So, determine that first, right? Because if your stock's not going anywhere, like it's not moving anywhere fast, but the stock market's getting its ass kicked, well, then you're actually onto a stock that's showing a lot of relative strength. So good question. And then, that'll help you make your determination if you own something that's actually strong or weak. No, I'm not considering the drone plays. No, they need to do more. I don't ever need to be the first one in the pool on a theme. If the theme is real, I mean, the theme has sprung up before and then they just kind of get their ass kicked. Right? I don't mind this little pivot that this thing has here, maybe a UMAC, but I don't know, dude. It's not really one that I want to own. RCAT, I'm definitely not RCAT. I lived through 2021 to tell you this thing's actually kind of a turd. It's got more work to do. And ONDS just too thin for me. Yeah, we'll see. But I mean, the theme seems like a lot of fun. The theme could definitely be something too. HLI too extended. And it also moves 1.88% per day, just entirely too slow, right? You want to tell your grandmother about this one, then, maybe it'll, nice Christmas present in the future. No, tightness right in here, right? Move up, move sideways, got nice and tight against key moving averages, and then started to break out. Now it's just gotten a little bit too extended here, considering how slow it moves, right? It's up about 10% from its 50, and it moves less than 2% per day. So you're more than 5 times its ATR from the 50. All right, 2 more. CRSR, is that Corsair? Right? I don't know. I don't know who this is. Nah, this looks kind of sloppy. It's just coming out of a downtrend, maybe. And then Warby. This looks better. It just needs to get going here, right? I want to trade stocks that are trading, 3-4% plus, ideally. AGX, I saw this one yesterday. Yeah, this one looks pretty interesting. Good earnings and sales, hopefully bouncing right off the 50. If this thing can get going over 214, looks pretty good. CDE, yeah, this one is a, nice little silver miner that's not going away. I like AG and PAAS more. Yeah, horizontal lines are best. And METC, is that Met Coal? I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, I mean, let it set up a little bit better. Maybe a high volume close setup, but we'll see. All right, guys, I got to get myself ready for stream. I will see you guys on Monday morning. As always, I appreciate you guys for being here. Please trade them well today and don't do anything too crazy. We will see you guys bright and early Monday. Yep. Have a great weekend, guys.